Good morning, Crystal Palace, and welcome to the Upper Norwood Library Hub's Library Lunch. My name's Galina Rin, and I am here in our brand new live stream studio here at the library. If you want anything digital done, we are your first port of call on the triangle. We do animations, we do filming, we do audio recording, we do singing recording, um, plays, we record theatre productions, music, everything. We do the whole shebang, a rang, a ring wrong. And this is a live stream studio that we have here in the library, which people can come and use. It's also a place where you can come and have your plays read if you're doing a reading for Edinburgh Fringe, for example, because that's a thing that happens that I never knew existed. That thing behind me is actually a green screen wall that I painted myself, and this is all for hire right here on the triangle for the local folks. And our rates are very fair. Oh, yes, indeed they are. So I suggest you all come over and have a nice time with us at the library. Oh, yeah. So today we have a wonderful author for you today. His name is Christian Darkin, and he is here with
Mhm.
us. Hello, sir. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm good. How are you?
I am very well, thank you. Would you like to tell the folks of Crystal Palace what it is you do?
Well, I write I write quite a lot of different books, but I've got a whole series of children's books called the Act Normal series, which these books. There's about 8 of these now, and they're all got a kind of scientific theme, but they're all for these are for children just learning to read on their own. The Act Normal books. So the first one's called Act Normal and Don't Tell Anyone About the Dinosaur in the Garden. And it's basically about someone who accidentally changes her chickens into dinosaurs by manipulating their DNA. So, so it's that sort of thing. I've got another one called Act Normal and Don't Tell Anyone About the Zombie Robots, which is about some zombie robots attacking a town, but it's also about how grown-ups spend too much time playing on their mobile phones. So I always, whenever I go into a school, I always ask the children whether they think grown-ups spend too much time on their phones, and the children always tell me that yeah, that's the case. Grown-ups spend too much time playing on their mobile phones. Children don't, apparently. So I've heard. But I've got another book for grown-ups that's just come out, which is called Lab-Grown Meat Bites Back, which is a kind of near-future science fiction book about virtual dating and artificial intelligence and the mad future of printing food um, using 3D printers, which is a lot of fun.
Amazing. First of all, I thought you were a science fiction writer, and then the children's stuff is less science fiction, but is it science? What would you count that as?
Well, I kind of, I suppose sometimes I'm writing science fiction and sometimes not. But the science fiction, when I write it, I'm not talking about warp drives and spaceships and aliens and that kind of stuff. I'm looking. My science fiction is the sort of thing that you wouldn't be totally amazed if Apple released in their next phone. So, so, so stuff that could conceivably happen anytime now. So for example, the lab-grown meat the book. There just this week, in fact, someone in Singapore has just got a license to sell chicken nuggets, which are made of real chicken that's grown without a real chicken. So this is stuff that can happen very, very soon, or has already happened.
Yeah, there's a company Beyond Meat that are in McDonald's
Yep.
now, aren't there? Is that a lab grown one? Do you know?
No, Beyond Meat is um, a very clever combination of vegetable. I think they use potato proteins and weave them together in some clever way to produce the texture of meat and use I don't know, some kind of fermented um, vegetables to create a taste. So it's pretend. What I'm talking about here is taking animal cells, real animal cells, growing them in a laboratory and producing real meat without the animal. Although in the book, I've taken it one step further, and instead of producing cells that produce a sort of mince, what they do in the book is they have these meat farms which have got disconnected animal limbs, all kind of twitching and growing on great big frameworks in these factories, which are quite scary places. So so I've taken it one step further, but it's something that's, I think in the next couple of years, we're probably going to have to go into, when we go into the supermarket, we're going to have three options for chicken. We're going to have the kind of corn-fed, high-end, £10 per kilo organically grown free-range chicken, or we're going to have American imported chlorinated chicken at £3 a kilo, or we're going to have completely lab-grown, cruelty-free chicken with no chicken involved. So you're going to have to make that choice probably quite soon.
There's a lot of questions come up about this. I'm just going to say we've had a comment from the floor before I get into all the questions I've got. So Rachel New has said, I can recommend Christian's books. I love the way the chicken use chicken. Sorry, the screen is quite far away from me. Sorry. She says, I love the way the children use science and technology to save the world.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. That's nice. Well, this is the Act Normal chapter books, which so these books are when children first start reading on their own, so they're quite easily digestible. And it's about a girl who's really into science and her brother who's really into chaos. And so she has absolutely no reservations about doing scientific experiments that produce some very strange results. And then her brother has got absolutely no restraint in turning those results into something that's going to go massively out of control.
Amazing. So all your stories seem to touch on moral aspects, I guess, because you could argue like the children using science and the brother causing chaos is exactly the kind of moral reasoning that people use for not growing lab cells of animals in labs for food, right?
Yeah. I mean, people have all sorts of. I mean, there's always going to be certainly in the lab grown meat thing. There's arguments on both sides. I'll be the first into the supermarket when that sort of thing appears. But I can see that from there are certainly different points of view. Some people think it's a kind of Frankenstein foods scenario. Other people think that well, if we're heading for a world with 12 billion people in it, how are you going to feed them unless you start replacing agriculture with something that's sustainable?
I was actually having this conversation at the weekend with someone about because they had started creating live meat for consumption in labs. They were now doing it with brains because the same argument for doing that was being used by people who work in brain diseases. I want to say brain medicine. I obviously don't work in brain medicine, so I don't know what it's called. But if you recreate human brains in laboratory so you can test on them, then that's kind of along the same moral grounds. But then you've got what is consciousness and whether the brain can think or feel pain. Oh, that's a bit deep. I'm sorry I've dragged you into that one, but
well, yeah. I mean, that's one thing, but I think we're sort of coming at that from another direction as well. Another thing in the book is to do with artificial intelligence, and this year, a company owned by Elon Musk came out with a thing called GPT-3, which is an artificial intelligence which is so clever that most people can't tell that they're talking to it. Most people, when you speak to it, most people think they're speaking to a human being. And the question is, how is it? We're getting to the stage now where although I certainly don't think this one is a conscious creature, I don't think there's much to say. There's no reason to think that the next one or the one after that might not be conscious, and we wouldn't know. How would we detect what a thinking creature that didn't think in the same way that we did was actually how it was processing what was in its head? So um, uh, a lot of the artificial intelligence we have now, um, it's not the difference between artificial intelligent computer programs and the kind of computer programs that we're used to, is that we don't know how they work. So instead of somebody sitting there and programming a set of rules that a computer has to follow, which is the old way of doing things, what people now program is the potential for learning, and the computer is just fed with loads and loads of data and makes up its own rules about how to make decisions. And we don't really know, as human beings, how it's doing that most of the time. There are computers right now making decisions that affect our lives right now, and we don't know how they're coming to their conclusions, which is a little bit worrying.
It is. It can be worrying for folks who worry about such things. I, for one, do not, because I see the fallacy in all humanity and give up to the machine lords as soon as possible, in my mind. Is it?
Well, it's certainly true that we don't know how most human beings come to their decisions either.
Yeah. Is it the Turing test? Is that what they call the test to see? Is that what it's called? The test to
Yeah,
see if androids
yeah,
have
there is
free
a thing
thought?
called there's a thing called the Turing Test, and basically it's a bit like what we're doing now. You sit in front of a computer screen and you talk or you type to another person, and that might be a person that's responding to your questions, or it might be a computer. And if you can't tell which it is, then Turing's idea was, if you can't tell that it's a computer, then you have to treat it as though it's alive. The trouble is, we've now passed the Turing test in the last sort of couple of years. It's now almost impossible to tell whether you're talking to. I mean, I've had phone calls where I've got halfway through a conversation before I've realised that what I'm actually talking to is a recorded voice that's responding to my questions. And we've got through that, but I don't think we're ready to believe that these things are conscious yet.
Yeah, I think I heard also like Joe Rogan. I'm a big Joe Rogan person, and Elon Musk uploaded Joe Rogan's personality to a computer. Maybe that's an over exaggeration of what it is.
Oh, really? I don't know. I know that I know that the most modern artificial intelligence, the most advanced one out at the moment, has been fed with basically the internet, everything on the internet, and you can ask it to pretend to be any historical or fictional character, and it will respond using the kind of words and phrases that they would use, and knowing only the things that they would know, which is quite clever. But I don't know about uploading a personality. I think you can. They've got to the stage now where they've implanted. They've been able to read the signals of an animal's brain, and work out from its thoughts what it's going to do next. I know they've been able to do that, but I don't think we're yet at the stage of having our personalities duplicated.
Well, maybe he was going to use Joe Rogan as an example of how he could get the machine to act like a person, because he's a popular culture um, dark web intellectual, as sometimes they call them. Maybe that's why he'd get good
Yeah,
viewings if he did
yeah.
that.
Well, this is what I mean when I say that my writing is science fiction, but you wouldn't be surprised if it happened tomorrow. So it's kind of playing with the edges of what we can do now, and kind of blurring what we can do and what we believe we can do and what we think we might be able to do next year.
Yeah, well, it's very interesting, and I definitely think there needs to be a lot of conversation with children over things like that. Me personally, for those at home, they'll know that I have a science fiction based rock band that has a comic book that goes along with the albums, and I explore the death of humanity within every single album and comic book. And I killed them off with an
Oh,
AI
okay.
in the first place. In the first one, I did kill them off with an AI. Anyway, but this is a subject I love myself. It's just, let's explore what possibly could happen, even if it's really dark, just so then we can maybe not go that way, perhaps.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to have a think about it. Because there is there is certainly the possibility that we create machines that are vastly more intelligent than we are, and yet are still not conscious.
Yeah.
So the possibility there is that you end up with um, us as humans giving way to a whole new kind of species, but that species not actually being alive. And that would be quite dark, I
Yeah, that
think.
would be quite dark. I think also because my personal belief that we are meat machines, and therefore anything that gets us closer to understanding how our own brain works will ultimately just benefit humanity. And by making artificial intelligence, that's exactly what we're doing, picking apart the oiled machinery that is just made out of meat at the moment.
Well, I think everything we do as human beings um, is kind of aimed at the idea of becoming closer together. We write and read books, we have conversations, we fall in love, we do all these things, and they're all about trying to become closer to other people. And if we get to the stage where we can, upload our minds into um, uh, the internet, or at least communicate by thought, experience the online world and everyone else in it, social media, as if it's a sense that we have in our own, as if it's one of our senses, um, then that brings us closer together, which is a good thing. But we don't know when the edges will start to blur between ourselves and other people. You can imagine a situation where if you share the memories, if I was to connect to you in some way that I could share your memories, they would then become my memories. My consciousness would become your consciousness, and we are effectively one person.
I think at that point we might well get might well get world peace or on our way to it, because people would have so much empathy for how other people were living that we wouldn't need to fight anymore.
That'd be nice.
That would be nice. I think that we had a
I'm not sure I'm ready to absorb the consciousness of Donald Trump just yet, though.
yeah, but his consciousness would be quite small compared to the. I mean, you're looking at the what do you call it? Like if you put you've been diluting it into the human experience. Really, you'd have everyone on the planet. So as long as the Chinese were kind of happy, we'd probably all be all right. But unfortunately, they're probably not 95% happy over there. So that would probably dilute it into misery quite easily.
Right. So you think we should only be allowed into the great human consciousness if you're happy?
No, I think we should allow everybody in. But what I'm saying is Donald Trump is the least of our worries. Is probably his consciousness is probably the least of our problems. And we've got some comments from the floor actually. Rachel New has very helpfully actually tagged in the link to the Joe Rogan article, Joe Rogan thing with Elon Musk that I was talking about. I'm not going to open it and share it out myself or read the more information on it, only because my computer won't hack it if there's any kind of video uploads on that website, because I'm running at full capacity at the moment. Other than that, she says using AI to form connections with others and increase empathy is definitely endorsed by the dating coach. By this dating coach. I'd imagine
Well,
there's an awful lot of AI goes on in dating selections as well, right?
well, the book, the Lab Grown Meat Bites Back book, one of the themes of it is that we have is that there's artificial intelligence kind of matchmaker who will find, based on all the data that they have about you, which is basically everything in your life, they will find the ideal match for you, and that's whether and that person could be living on the other side of the world. So you will go on these virtual dates, but of course, it kind of touches on the idea of what these algorithms are trying to do, and because the artificial matchmaker, once you have virtual dates, the intellectual property of those dates, if you like, are the property of the company that's made the matchmaker. So your dates, your relationships are not your intellectual property, in the same way that your information shared on Facebook is not your property; it's their it's their property.
So what would be the element of intellectual property created within the date of two people?
Well, any conversations they have, I suppose. I mean, relationships are worth quite a lot of money, aren't they? You know, if someone has a long-term relationship, then they will buy a lot of things. They might move in together. They might be looking to have a house. They might be, you know, there's a lot of money in that, if people can own it. But also it kind of buys into the idea that all these dating apps are kind of ostensibly, they're about finding you the ideal person, but you know, just as any other search engine, it's not really in their interest to find you somebody. What's really in their interest is to keep you searching. In the same way that when you go on YouTube and you look for a video telling you how to do something, you'll quite often end up watching a half-hour long video that keeps promising it's going to tell you what you wanted to know, but never actually does. So the reason for that is that YouTube's algorithms select for that, because the idea of YouTube is to keep you watching YouTube.
Yeah, I always thought that the intellectual property of things like that would have been in person A likes A, B, and C, and person B likes B, C, and D, and that programming language between those two people is the thing that the company would need to keep so they don't make the same mistake again. Either those people pair up, and then therefore that's a mistake, and we need to rewrite the program slightly so that they don't pair up, as you say, they keep searching.
Yep.
Or that they want that outcome where people do pair up and then stop searching, or the certain programming will mean that the people will search for 3 months and then they'll pair up, because that's generally when people will stop paying for the service, because
yeah. And of course the question is a 3-month-long relationship a failed relationship?
Oh no, I mean, like, have them searching for 3 months, because after 3 months, generally people who aren't successful will just stop paying for the service, and you'd rather that they were paired up and therefore telling their friends they should join your service.
Yeah, absolutely.
Information's awesome, really, when you think about it. And there's also another interesting thought of mine on that subject, is that you can't have intellectual property of a sound, like a guitar, right? Because I'm a musician, right? So you can't trademark a guitar sound, your guitar sound, although there are specific sounds that relate to certain bands. However, the settings, once those settings are written down anywhere, then that in theory becomes intellectual property, because you've mixed these ingredients together. But can you trademark them? Probably not. It's like the word, you know, it's like people trying to mark the word punk or whatever, you know, that IPA company that did that. And that just brings up the same idea. It's like the sound is the couple being together, which currently is not allowed to be trademarked, but all the programming to get them together would be, because that's the settings.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah. Well, we have in the book. What happens is, instead of Zoom, we have these full-size inflatable robots, which is just like a kind of balloon robot with a person's face projected onto it, so that anyone who you want. So if we wanted to have this conversation, instead of looking at a screen talking, we'd have a real physical object, which was this robot that would inflate to create our features, and have our face projected onto it. So we could have these conversations, or we could go on a date, or whatever it was. We could have a business meeting or a meal together. But it's just kind of a little bit further on. It wouldn't be totally surprising if that happened.
I would love that. It's basically a physical avatar, right? Is that what we're talking about? In the series Ghost in the Shell, they have that where the policemen walk around in big like mascot holograms, so the people aren't scared of the fact that there's police around them. They're just like big cuddly hologram things that look like mascots. And that's kind of the same thing. It's kind of fun. Do you know what? We have really gone over time this morning, and mostly just because it's obviously a subject I like to talk about as well. So why don't you tell everyone at home how they can get hold of your book? If there's a local place that they can get it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you can order it to any bookshop. There are lots of good bookshops around here, and you can do it online. You could search for my name, Christian Darkin. It's quite an unusual name, so I will probably appear if you type it into anything. But the children's books are called Act Normal. So if you want to have a look for Act Normal books, if you're looking for something for children just starting to read on their own, and Lab Grow Meat Bites Back is the grown-up sci-fi book.
Amazing. I have put those in the link, and if people want to contact you directly, where should they do that?
You probably got my Twitter thingy or my Facebook thingy on. I think I've sent you the link, which hopefully you can.
Yes, I'll put that up and now. Yeah, it's fine.
Animated Dad on Twitter. Animated Dad is my name on Twitter, because the rest of the time when I'm not writing, I'm an animator. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been really fun.
Hey, no worries. Thank you so much for joining us. And I really hope that you'll consider coming and doing a reading for us of your books, because we can do that on our live stream channel. Just come on in and do some reading for us.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Amazing. I'm just going to run out. I'm just going to run out of the building. Just stop. There we go. I'm just going to run through a couple of notifications I've got for you lovely folks. All the folks that have watched us, thank you very much today. There has been a large number actually watching in today. So if you're out there, remember to say hello in the comments. Give us a heart, like, share, all that kind of jazz. Share it with your friends, whatever you've got, basically, because it all helps the library spread the good word that we do here. And also get out the participants' things, products, services, all the stuff that we do on here. For the next couple of weeks, we're literally all underneath. We're eyeball deep in Santa and reindeer. If you would like tickets for Santa and his reindeers, it is every weekend from now to Christmas, as well as the 21st and 22nd of December. The raffle, there's a raffle going on, and that will be, we're going to do it live, probably on this show on the 24th, probably. It will be live streamed, however it's going to be live streamed. And if you want tickets to that, just go over to uppernorwoodlibraryhub.org. I have neglected to put that link anywhere in this program, but I'll do so after the fact. uppernorwoodlibraryhub.org, and you can buy tickets for Santa and the Reindeer. 40 tickets have been added for every day, I believe. I want to say that's right. So if you thought you missed out before, new tickets have been added. Oh yeah. So thank you very much, Christian, for joining us today. It was really great talking to you. Hello. Thank you very much. And we will see everybody tomorrow. What day is tomorrow? Wednesday. We will be back at 12 o'clock, where we will be interviewing Jamie, who is the Library of Things handyman who works here at the library. Me and him are good pals now because we are here all the time. Amazing. Okay, we'll see you all tomorrow at 12. Thank you very much, and see you later. Bye.